So 3D scanning. We have a couple different technologies of that. This hand scanner here, this is an Artec hand scanner, and we've done some stuff like recreating Mr. Hackley here, scanning him, the bus for the museum. We scanned a logging hammer in the top right corner. That's from the 1800s that we could recreate and essentially have mini scale replicas that the museum could pass out. And then the students that are partaking in the scanning here that you see, they actually scan that camera. So these students are part of the Careerline Tech Center in Muskegon biotech program, and they work with people in the community that might have a disability to kind of help them solve those disability problems. And this individual was a photographer, and they lost use of their right hand. Well, the lady still needed her camera, so the kids needed the camera to kind of, work with it to make tools and accessories to kind of help her with her disability. So we scanned the camera so they could use the 3D printed version to take measurements and do testing. We've scanned people. We've scanned my buddy. I scanned his head, and we made a bust of it. He's my friend Matt. CNC router. So this is a ShopBot CNC router, 4 foot by 8 foot, and it's very good for doing wood, foam, plastic. You could do metal, even, but we have never done metal on it. But you can. It's possible to do like aluminum. Here's a video of it actually running. So this guy came into the lab. He made these Michigan art decor things out of pallet wood, and he's like, he wondered, I cut these by hand. Would it be possible to do this on the router? And I was like, I don't know, we can. This one was a little dicey because it had, pallet wood has like random nails and stuff and staples everywhere. So we had to be very careful on where we were actually gonna be cutting on the wood. But you can see here, it does a couple passes. We won't wait for the whole thing, but it's cutting out a shape of Michigan. And that's on the bed, and then that's the actual piece. We had to mount it to a piece of scrap wood on the back because they were all individual boards, but you can see it came out pretty good. You can also make furniture. So you can see in the bottom left here, we made a kind of a stand-up or a sit desk that we're experimenting with for students and teachers who have to, have class outside in the springtime because of this COVID stuff. And we actually prototyped that desk. You can see on the desk, there's a mini version of it, and the stool that was cut on the laser. We'll get to the laser. Well, actually, no, we did. But yeah, the laser is really good for quick prototyping, right? As long as you keep the scale right. And you can see the stool that we cut out on the router. That's a pretty cool project because it just slides together, and it's a flat pack stool. So if you have a furniture design that you want, the Fab Lab CNC router is a great place to do it. Also carvings. So be it a Valentine's kind of gift box for mom or grandma or your significant other, or signs, or tombstones for Halloween. Those were actually for a Remembrance Ranch, the Nightmare on 84th Street. They do it every year out in Allendale, and those tombstones were for that it's kind of like a haunted trail, and the Remembrance Ranch benefits like veterans and kind of their families and whatnot. This individual, Alex Taylor of Windcraft Aviation, he came in with all these sheets of foam and was like, I have to go to this Oshkosh Air Fair this weekend. I have one day to cut this prototype aircraft out. Can we do it? Sure, never cut foam before. I had to go recruit one of our machining instructors to kind of make sure we were using the right bit and everything. But you can see here, he's putting the pieces together, and it was just a last minute thing. Can we do this? I don't know, let's try. But Alex in this picture, he was 17 years old in high school, and he has this company focused on personal aircraft. It's just absolutely crazy. This is our Haas CNC Mill. So this one we don't have quite as much experience or use out of, which is fine because the Fab Lab's all about learning. So this is our first cut on the machine using out of this. It's not metal. It's like a plastic kind of material. Cuts kind of like wood. But anyways, so one of our member volunteers, Eric, on the bottom right picture on the left, that's Eric Peterson. He came in a couple days a week trying to figure this machine out. He wanted to use it for his business, actually, his engineering consulting firm. He wanted to be able to like come here, use this machine to churn out parts for prototype or whatever for his customers. And so he's like, I'm gonna dedicate some time to learn this machine for that, and because it's fun to play around with a $30,000 machine. He took a lot of guidance from Dan Lynn here, the other gentleman in the picture, and they actually cut aluminum on the machine for the first time, which is pretty cool. And you can see that there. The plasma cutter. So the Torchmate 4x8 plasma cutter. So this is good for cutting sheet metal. We'll show you how this sucker works here. I don't know the exact science, but essentially it's like a laser, but it's basically hot ionized air, right, that you're pushing down and using to cut through the metal. You can cut sheet aluminum, sheet steel, various thicknesses. We don't cut too thick of big pieces because we have to push it on there by hand. Some things like this, that cool Hamilton thing in the top left, bottom left, it was a Daddy Shack, like a coat rack. It's in a wood shop, so it's shaped to look like a handsaw. And top right, we're all nerds at the Fab Lab, so Iron Man, obviously. And in the middle here, in the bottom right, that is one of our biotech CTC Tech Center kids that was coming in before we just shut down this week to in-person visits. And, they were learning how to use this equipment. Like, this is here for the community. We'll teach you how to use it. Vinyl printing. So we have a couple different options. So we have kind of like the hobbyist starter out. We have a couple Crickets. Most people know what those are, but those are there and available for our members to use. We have a larger, and those are nice to learn on. If you've never done vinyl printing or cutting, those are nice to learn on because they're not super big and expensive. In the middle here, we have our Roland SG540 vinyl printer and cutter. You can make t-shirts, you can make banners, you can make stickers, and it actually prints and cuts. Whereas the Crickets, this specific Cricket only just cuts. On both designs, sometimes if you're going to do like heat transfer on a fabric, you might need this hot t-shirt press on the right here. So if you want to make shirts, which I have some examples of, or custom bags or anything like that, that's what you would use that for. A lot of people come in to use this for banners for their events, be it a youth organization, be it community event, be it a business, right? A lot of social distancing signs and mask required signs, stuff like that. This thing can do huge banners, small banners. Yeah. Rake Brewing. So he came in when they were just getting started with opening up and wanted to make a bunch of stickers that he could sell or give out as promotional items. So there we go with his first sticker printout. For Rake Brewing. T-shirts, right? So these were actually ones I did. So I did like this 90s run for the Nickelodeon Guts thing. And you can kind of see them on the paper and then transferred onto fabric. They turned out really well. Now, this is not a good way to make a ton of shirts, but it's a good way to make, onesie, twosies, maybe a dozen max. Screen printing's always quicker, than this process. But as long as you keep them pretty simple, you could do pretty well on this kind of machine. I went to an office themed pop-up bar in Chicago and I made office themed shirts, right? Like I could put whatever I wanted on them. Like that's the cool thing about the Fab Lab. Now I did have one inventor, actually Brian Hudson of Vecito. If you're tuning into this for the Lakeshore Museum's Inventor Night, you'll probably hear him talk. He came in and he made about a dozen shirts or maybe 24 one day. And I told him the day before, it's going to take a while. You're going to be here literally all day. And he was. I think he finished up the shirts at like 4 or 5, and the event was that night that he went and handed them out at. So Brian Hudson can tell you that it works, but it's, it's good for a pinch, but it's a slower process than screen printing. It's a lot of manual labor. Stickers. So fun stickers like, RIP 2019 things, fun stuff like that. This tour home sticker was a project that I had for someone who needed an old camper tour home version, decal recreated and printed. Where else can I do? Where else could you do something like that than the Fab Lab? And this kind of touched home to me because it was right before we shut down the family sticker or drawing here. A young girl came in really talented with markers, as you can see, and she came in right before the COVID stuff hit for the homeschool group, and we took her drawings and we scanned them, and then you can see here we printed out some static cling decals. I actually have one in my house on my window because I thought she was so talented, and it kind of just reminds me of like the peak of the Fab Lab, right? With the homeschool group meeting and kids just getting inspired, like, whoa, I could take my digital artwork and scan it and use it for stickers or whatever, so it kind of just makes me think back to like the positive times. And I just couldn't believe she was really talented. So we had a local guy who was making cornhole boards reach out to us. And we actually printed these vinyl stickers to go on his cornhole boards, stuff that would have taken him forever to hand paint or do on a smaller Cricut and stuff like that. You have to layer it. We were able to just do one shot, just print them right off. So again, here to help. If you have an idea for an invention, a business, Fab Lab's here. Well, sort of right now.